So yeah, there's a train going on in the background. But that's a perfect way to
Oh,
start episode number 61 here at
yes,
Sprangboro
I almost
Sessions.
stopped it.
Did you stop it? No.
61? Did you say so? No, I didn't stop. Number 61? Did you say
61.
61?
Yes, sir.
Ooh, that's such a sweet number.
Um, yes, today is July 25th, 2021. Episode 61 coming at you live here on Twitch. I don't know if anyone's going to get on there today or not and say anything, but that's okay. If so, we'll get the chat box going in the future here.
Understood?
Yeah, actually, I think I already have one. Where's it at? It's off to the side. It would be covering your face, which might not be a bad thing.
Ooh, burn. Put it right down the center.
I'll put it
Right
right.
between the
That's
lines.
what I'm doing. That's what I'm doing. All
There you
right.
go.
Anyways, so hello, friends. Again, this is Jamie and TJ coming at you. It's a little warm in this room. I know you have said your air conditioner going, which is nice, as you can tell from my glistening, beautiful,
I needed to. I'm sort of
display
sweating
of.
today.
So yes, it is a little warm in this room, and that's okay because that's the way we start the day. I know you have a lot to talk about today, and I know I have a lot to gab about.
Sure.
So I'm gonna let you take the floor today, my
I
friend.
was I wanted to actually, if I could put, because I wrote all that stuff down, I'd like to kind of put that towards the end of it. You know what I mean? This is kind of a heavy piece, you know?
Yes. Well, you have
So
other things you wanted to talk about. That's what I
oh, yeah,
said.
yeah, yeah. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
That was just like the fresh thing. What else did I want to talk about? This is why I had to write that all down because I would have forgot it.
Well, here's what we were discussing before we started going was to catch anyone up with OBS and Streamlabs OBS. We had talked about them in the past. It is the stream platform that we have been using now for like a year when we do live feeds and things like that. So with your computer, you were running into a situation when you were streaming games on Twitch or whatever using Streamlabs OBS because you said it was bogging down your resources. So you
Yeah.
made the switch to back to the original one we had talked about on the show here about Streamlabs itself. Um, so
Yeah, I switched back to
so
regular OBS.
so where are we at with that? What'd you figure out? Because again
Well,
I haven't.
I'm gonna have to actually upgrade my power supply. If you remember when I initially did the setup, I got an 850-watt power supply, which was more than enough. It gave me a nice little buffer with everything I had. Problem was, is the power supply wasn't working. It was faulty. To send it back, get the money back, do all that was a pain in the butt. So I went out and only one I could find at the time was 650 watt. I knew it was going to be enough, but it was going to be, it'd be close. It's going to be drawing a very high if I get that. So um, I've been running into it now. I need to do a little more research on it because I'm not sure if in Task Manager where it says, program, when you look at the program, if you go over to power usage, it says very high. I don't know if that means that it's using it's a heavy load on the power supply or not. But I'm running into a lot of stuttering on my streams and still running into it when I play Apex. I don't know if that's because of the power supply, or if that's because of my graphics card, which is a 2060, so it should be fine. It's a 2060 Ultra KO, so it should be fine. Um, I dropped down the performance to performance instead of quality. The the graphics card's visual experience program to optimize it so that we get better performance. Uh, and it's still, I mean, the game runs smoothly, but when I stream as well, it it tends to stutter or slow down a lot. So I'm still working on that. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to upgrade my power supply, I think, and then go from there. If anybody out there knows any more about it and has any suggestions, I have done a few things already. I don't want to go through a list because I can't remember honestly everything I've done. Uh, but leave them in the comments and let us know if you have any suggestions on what I can do to try and fix that. Other than going and building a second PC just for the streaming, which I really don't want to do.
Now,
Um,
when you're streaming, do you also have your OnlyFans up at the same time, or did you do that at a separate time?
need to make money, man. Like people need to see these feet.
Exactly.
Uh, yeah, no, yeah, it's you gonna put me on the spot
So
like that. But yeah, the only
well,
thing
okay,
it's always
well,
running.
in theory,
It's it's a live room feed. Okay.
so on your PC when you're streaming, okay, a lot of people don't realize that, or because they don't stream, that there's a lot of steps to the process to get it to where you are online and you are presenting yourself. Whether you're on a stream platform or using software to record a video, but that's okay. Basically, for instance, my setup. All right. So I can't tell you the specs of my computer, but I can tell you right now the programs that I have running on my computer are in this order. Discord, and that's in full screen, so it's picking up all the screen here on this one, and then I have Streamlabs OBS running. Right now, I'm not streaming a game. If I was streaming a game, then I would also have that application, that window open, also sucking down resources. So for you, what is your typical setup when you're streaming? Like, what are you like? What's
Well,
your apps and stuff?
usually Discord's almost always open, but lately I've just been doing my audio through games in game chat. So Discord usually won't be running, but right now it's pretty much the game and my stream and my OBS. But it only does it again. It only does it with Apex so far that I've noticed.
So you think that the Apex's resources just
Yeah,
require that
and
much
well, when I
more?
look at a task manager as well, Apex is the one that's a
In
very high
comparison, you
power
said you
user.
sat down side by side with them.
Yeah,
Um,
it's very high power users. But everything I've read, OBS and Streamlabs, OBS is more of a a resource hole, and it is. It does. It's like 20 or 30% more um, running OBS when I did my side by side test. I ran OBS streamed. It generally drew 30% more on CPU, on memory, all that stuff. Whereas regular OBS, basic OBS, that didn't take. It was like 25, 30, like I said, 25, 30% less on those same factors. So it's definitely the reason I'm using OBS. I do prefer Streamlabs as far as like it's a little more user friendly in my opinion, especially for like a dum dum like me. You know what I mean? Like it's a little softer. It doesn't look as not impeding. You know what I mean? I'm sure after a while using it, like I'm already pretty comfortable with it, so it's not that much different. But it looks a little nicer on screen as well. Like not that anybody but me sees it, but visually, I like the layout.
um, yeah, there's something I wanted to talk about. I'm just trying to pull up the information so I can make sure that I'm reading more facts. So if I appear to be deep in concentration, that's because I am.
As you are.
So, do I look like I'm in concentration mode?
You look like a dad trying to find the enter button.
All right. All right. So, friends, old friends, new friends, just friends in general. So I think I have it to where this is not picking up all this, so I can. Oh, see, that's so much better. See, streaming and stuff, people, is really it's really kind of like a game all in its own. Oh, that's what it was missing. All right, so PC. Uh,
See, this is where
so
if
here's where we are. Sorry.
that's
So,
good. No, no.
so check this out. So right now, as we speak, we are sitting here. I am doing this live, and you guys can't see it, but I am signing up for the X Defiant beta test. That hopefully I can
Yeah.
get accepted for it. Um, oh man, what is my information? See, that's why I have them all written down, because it's through Ubisoft. So we talked very little the last the last cast if we even talked about it really at all. I don't really think we talked about it, but I can't remember.
Not in
Um,
depth. I think we just mentioned it.
so throughout the week, I've read some things, watched some things, and just kind of just looked a little bit more in depth. Did you spend any time researching that game? And
Can't say I have.
okay,
I think I watched the video like more time on it.
man, I used to have
The
every.
gameplay.
I know I had to. I know I had to have a Ubisoft. I have to have a Ubisoft account. You know what I
Doing that,
mean?
I'll give a brief explanation of what X Defiant is.
Yes, please do that.
So basically, what X Defiant is it's Tom Clancy. I don't know if some people would be pretty X Defiant, right? Defiant. What was the name of it again? X
X
Defiant.
Defiant, Defiant.
Soft.
The thing about X Defiant is, some going what you were saying. Some people know Tom Clancy as the Tom Clancy game Rivers or Rainbow Six Siege. Some people know it as the Division. Some people know it as uh, what was that Ghost
Ghost
Recon,
Recon.
and what else?
There was the whole Tom Clancy thing came from novels. There was a Tom Clancy was a fiction writer, uh,
Hmm.
and that's where the whole franchise actually, the world of franchise, I guess, came from. I never read any of the books. I think it's a fiction. It's a fiction or nonfiction when it's a made-up story. So, again, I'm not an English graduate, so but yeah. But basically, it's basically like a it's supposed to be in the Tom Clancy universe as far as the way that this like kind of takes place. But in reality, it's I don't know if the gameplay is going to be along the lines of a Tom Clancy game where it's more tactical and slow paced, and like the original like Rainbow Six Siege, the original Rainbow Six games. Um, they it kind of looks like they took a battle. What do they call it? Black Ops 4 look to it. You know what I mean? Gameplay with abilities and stuff like that. But they're kind of giving it using the factions of the Tom Clancy universe. All these groups of people they're kind of drawing from their lore to kind of make this. I don't know if it's a mashup. It's still kind of early to tell. Hopefully, we'll get into the beta and I'll be able to get a more of a grip of what the description actually is. In my opinion, it looks fun. I've never been a real big fan of Tom Clancy games because other than like what was it, Wildlands we played.
Yeah, that game was.
That was my favorite out of all of them. I've played a bunch of them. I never. I'm a COD person at heart. I know
Mm-hmm.
that hurts a lot of people. There's a lot of people that are like, "Oh, COD's just an arcade shooter." That's fine. That's what I enjoy. You don't enjoy it. I'm totally okay with that. You don't have to. There's plenty of people who do.
Right, I know. I
And
know what I
I'm
like.
okay with people. Yeah, I know what I like, and I'm okay with whatever you like. I don't hate on it. That's fine. If you like, Fortnite, go for yours, man.
I ain't
Uh,
hating.
you know, I'm at the point now in my life where I used to be like, those games are for losers. I don't care, man. If you have fun with it, man, by all means, enjoy. Like we say here, live your best life. Um, you gotta just kind of do what you want to do. It's your time and your life. Enjoy what you want to enjoy. Consume the content that you want to that you enjoy. Me, I got a feeling I might like this game as long as the gameplay is a little bit more fast paced and engaging. I'm not a big fan of slow paced games that much anymore. I kind of like that adrenaline rush and that quick pace, that quick gunfights. Like Apex, I've changed the way I play Apex Legends, where I'm dropping in hot every time now. I forget if I die and I'm back out. I'd rather do that 1,000 times than play one game where I go 10, 15 minutes before I see anybody and then I die in the first gunfight. You know?
Hmm.
So I've kind of reverted back to my Call of Duty. I went through a phase. I was all I wanted to play was fast action paced games. Then I reverted to battle royale, slower pace. looting, getting looted up, strategy, things like that. And then, PUBG style, where it's like, okay, you're not always dropping hot, but like you might fight one or two guys at the drop, loot up, and then, run for 5 minutes before you run into somebody else. And now I'm back to that mentality of, okay, I don't have as much time to engage in games anymore. I'd like, I want that instant, like Rocket League. We always talk about it. 5 minute games.
Yep. In,
Last night we were
out.
playing. We were playing last night. What did I say? I got a couple games in me. I looked at my weekly challenges, which I never pay attention to until you mentioned it to me, and then I'm like, all right, I'll go look at them. What did I have? 3 games to get all my weekly challenges done. And I was
Yep.
like, all right, we'll stay on for 3 more games. It's 15 more minutes. It's one game, at least one. Most is that most? At least one game of Apex Legends at the shortest in 15 minutes. So again, it's a fast-paced game. It's quick. It's fun. It's you win, you lose, whatever. It's not a big deal. It's just it's fun doing stuff and trying new stuff. But yeah, it's. I got a feeling it's gonna be a good game. Did you find everything on there you were looking for?
Yes and no. It's not. I'm trying to get it to let me sign up for it, but I'm having a doozy of a time trying to get my password to reset. But I just now getting the email because I'm trying to figure out like why it wouldn't let me. Click here. Well, now I can get this set up because the beta's August 5th. So,
Oh, is it?
oh yeah.
I signed up. I don't know for PC. I don't know. I haven't checked to see if I got anything on it yet. To be honest with you. That's Defiant. Yeah, it looks like it'll be. I want to at least try it. I don't think I'll buy it until after.
I see what's going on with it. Yeah. I'm in the
Yeah,
same
I
boat.
just because again, I put enough. I don't put a lot of time as much time into games as I used to. So I'd like to see what it's coming out at. If I can't get into the beta, in the beta, I'll have a good idea. I know not always. Yeah, I like the sound. Yeah, I'm hoping that we'll get into the beta, so at least I can play test it and try it out, see how it goes. It looks
Yeah,
fun. It looks interesting.
it
You
does.
know,
You haven't verified the email. Oh, come on.
I don't think they're breaking any ground with it as far as like gameplay or anything like that. I think they're taking what's popular. And somebody made an astute observation that they're not really doing anything new. They're chasing trends. I'm okay with that, man. Chase trends, dude. If it
Yeah,
still
at
works,
this
and it's a
point,
popular trend,
there's so many great
everything
games.
doesn't have to be reinventing the wheel. You know what I mean? Like if
Nope.
something works and it's a good strategy, it's fun, it's engaging, and it's not like overly monetized. By all means, man. I'll play 100 games that are like that if they all have a little tweak or a little difference to them. I mean, don't give me a reskin of the same game. You know what I mean? Like I don't want a reskin of Apex Legends. I like Apex Legends. If I'm going to play it, I'm going to play Apex Legends. If I want to play COD, I'm going to play COD. All these games have their own intrinsic value, so to speak. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
they all have there's something to offer as far as gameplay goes, and none of them are. I don't think, in my opinion, none of them are really reinventing the wheel. They're putting out something entertaining. They're giving updated content often, and I think it's great. I'm definitely freaking here for it. Man.
Um, I think when we had first talked about it, and you were making comparisons to some of the other games that X Defiant, reminded you of, and it's so funny to me nowadays because we have gotten so comfortable with certain games that it's easy to compare a game to another game, even when it's got like its own new features. You're just like, oh, it reminds me of that, and reminds me of that, and I think that's what's going to make this game pretty fun. Because I don't know if it's going to be my go-to game or nothing, but if I can, I'd like to give it an honest try. Just because we played Wildlands and we started playing the Ghost Recon or whatever that multiplayer was for it, and we had fun playing it. We Nobody played on it that we knew, and it was just like, okay, well, it's not, all that, um, you know, without a full team or whatever the case may be. But
But we still had fun, and it was outside of
yeah,
what
but
we
we always
normally
had
would
fun.
play.
Yeah,
Yeah, and it was not something that we wouldn't normally play something like that. You know what I mean? Like a little bit more slow paced. Like it was definitely more. Uh, it was more outside of our our wheelhouse, and we enjoyed it. I thought I had a great time with it, man. It was awesome.
well, it also helped change the way you play. It gave you a different set of mechanics to play with, just during, just gaming, because we were always used to playing run and gun, and if not, people would be sniping and stuff like that because those were the common things at the time. Um, and to be able to use like a little recon machine and to be able to do all that stuff, that was already different for us, and that's why we were like, wow, this is really cool. Um, just because of the fact that we could try something that was new and different for once, and it just makes you appreciate all that and makes the grind so fun and worth it in
Yeah,
all
it brought a
games.
new yeah, it brought a new view on what we were expecting from video games. It expanded our thoughts of something that we didn't know we enjoyed, because we weren't really enjoying that line of games before. Maybe we just didn't try them enough to enjoy them. Um, but that game felt, and it's in my opinion, I think in a lot of people's opinions, that was one of the really good Tom Clancy games, Wildlands.
Oh,
I'm
dude,
pretty
so
sure that
good.
was a fairly good hit. I mean, it had a lot of good content, and like I said, we played the hell out of that recon game there. I think it was recon. I forget. Badlands. That's what it was. But yeah, it was definitely something different. You're muted.
I said I was just getting ready to try and see what the name of that game was.
Yeah,
Um, yeah,
it's Ghost Recon Wildlands.
now what I really enjoyed about that game when we were playing it is that, you had a whole different approach on everything, because whenever you play multiplayer games, not, generally speaking, and I mean, unless you're doing a campaign or you're doing, something like that, most of the time everybody's just running and they're just trying to get as many kills as they can. That game's mechanics forces you as a player to play along with your team more strategically. So you might be running in, but your buddy beside you is playing more of a support role, and he's going and marking people for the guys that are running in. That's when Call of Duty was its most fun. Is when the people we were playing with and we played. That was when it was the most fun, when it was strategic, not just a bunch of people playing the game and not playing together as a team. They were, and in that game, that Wildlands or whatever it was, Badlands, it forced you to do those things in a non-conventional way that you don't ever do, and I think that was what I really enjoyed about it. And I think that's why I think this X Defiant game is going to be, for a multiplayer first-person shooter that's not a big giant mainstream game like, Call of Duty, or even the new Halo that's coming out. That's still a big giant name. Tom Clancy's a very up the chain, but it's never been to the status that any of those games have been at, because their community is tight, their community is very close knit, but the people that play them just absolutely love them. So that's what they're hoping to be able to do, is to bridge the gap between both sides of the fence of players and try and bring them into this type of a scenario, where they have different factions and they all do different things. But it reminds me of like Apex, and it reminds me of all that, and I'm excited about it because I tried to play that Rogue One, because it does something similar to those mechanics where you have a different spot, but the gameplay itself, it was kind of like Fortnite, like the graphics. It kind of reminded me of like that Fortnite,
Pardon me.
the one and the same. It reminded me of those mechanics, and that was okay. Um, but then the game, I was excited about it, and then when I started playing, I'm like, well, this game just kind of seems cheesy. Uh,
Mhm.
and I know that as a gamer that got that game for free, if I'd have went out and I was excited about that game coming out and they talked about it for 2 years, they dropped it, I paid $60 for the game and it did that, I'd have been disappointed. But I did get it for nothing and I did give it an honest try, but it just did not, hit the ranks for me. I ended up playing probably 6 games maybe. So this Defiant, I perceive from the gameplay, it's more up my speed of comfortability, and I think that I would enjoy it a lot more than I would play something like Rogue One or any of those other kind of games that are similar to that. Um, I think that the Halo 6 that's coming out, the way that they're doing it is they are gonna have the base game, which is Halo 6 Infinite, and it's gonna be like a campaign and all that stuff. But then they're gonna have the free to play attached to it, like Warzone, and it's gonna be free to play whether you have the game or not. But it's gonna be linked into Infinite. So if you're a diehard Halo guy, you're gonna want to buy it. The game itself, because then you're gonna get the base game. If you're not into that or you don't want to pull the trigger and just like X Defiant, those other ones you want to try it, you won't be losing anything. In fact, you'll be entitled to having opinions, which I'm sure a lot of people will. Um, but that's okay because that's where we are with games nowadays. Is now the companies just give them to you and you get to enjoy them if you like them. If not, just go play something else. There's 100 other things to choose from. So X Defiant, the beta's dropping. Uh, the they announced for Halo this past week that they are planning on dropping or starting the beta by the end of summer, and that they're actually wanting to focus on the AI controlled portion games, arena versus AIs. It's because they want to test that portion of this test phase because they're going to be doing it in phases going up to the main launch. So, I mean, they're entitled to do that if they're going to make it a beta for, all that. I guess my notifications are not off on my computer, but it's
Oh, I
okay.
can hear him.
Um, but yeah, so I think it's gonna be cool. It is gonna be interesting to see these two games whenever they both drop side by side and see which one's gonna be more fun to me because whatever one is, that's one I'm gonna be grinding on. Uh, yeah, I see a good thing coming out of this Defiant, and that also being said, it pushes the game makers of 343 in them to also up the ante because they're all in a way still going to be competing with each other for that base net. Do you think, with what you know of their past, the Tom Clancy series, the Halo series, do you think that either of them will have the ability to take the number one seat on the first person shooters of this type in this area between Warzone, Apex, Defiant, and Halo when they're all running at full force? Do you think that it'll have any of them will have the capability of topping Warzone? Because Warzone is the highest streamed game on Twitch. It's the highest viewed. It's the highest downloaded and played. I believe now, because I believe it did surpass Apex, but Apex had a couple, a year, 2 years, whatever head start.
Yeah.
So, do you think either of these two games might have the ability to do that from what you've heard about them? And I know that it's not a real strong thing because you have not gone down the rabbit hole
Yeah.
of them.
Well, I can tell you just by from being Ubisoft and the way they handled a lot of the recent games, Valhalla, things like that. Their track record is pretty inconsistent, and I don't think that X Defiance. You're talking about X Defiant, you said, right? You wanted to know,
And Halo.
and Halo. I think Halo has enough of a fan base installed, and again with Xbox Games Pass being free, I think that that's going to launch that into an initial stratosphere. Same with X Defiant. X Defiant, I mean, Tom Clancy fans, there's a pretty large fan base in there that will, I'm sure, at the streaming, on the streaming level at least, they'll be the big streamers that'll have like their paid promotion where they're going to all be streaming it for a little while. I don't think there'll be a lot of streamers a lot of mid-level streamers or low-level streamers that will stick with them and consistently stream that game alone. I think that it might be like a go-to when there's like new content updated, kind of like Apex. That's the big thing that's going on right now. The big streamers, they're not. A lot of people still are streaming Apex, but a lot of the big names will come back to Apex unless it's their bread and butter. You know what I mean? Which by meaning that they got into. Well, they got into being like so far got popular by playing and streaming Apex. If that's the game that got them to where they are, chances are they're going to stay on that game longer.
With the loyalty to the game.
Yeah, if they're already at a level, because their fan base is staying with them for that game. So it all depends on what the fan base, if it's a game that's enjoyable to watch. Being enjoyable to play and being enjoyable to watch are two different, they're not mutually exclusive. They're two totally different things. There are games that some people find really enjoying and engaging to play, but to stream and watch them isn't all that enjoyable. And that also lies on the streamer. So there are a lot of different factors. Like, if you were to watch me stream, I'm not all that engaging yet with the chat, obviously, because I don't have a lot of people in there, first of all. Second of all, again, it takes a special skill, I'm learning, that to pay attention, just to look away from what you're doing for a second and know when you have a second to look at your chat. Games like Valheim, non-first person shooters, battle royales are a little bit easier to do that with because you're not, worried about being sniped while you're looking at another screen, But I think at first these games will jump up there. You'll have people like Shroud that will get a paid promotion, Ninja, all the big names, Dr. Disrespect, they'll all get paid promotion things where they'll play it for like a week. They'll play it for like a certain amount of streaming hours, where they get this big bonus, this big sign-on thing for it, and then however many people will download it by watching them up through their link. So there'll be a moment where these things will jump up high on the streaming charts, and then it will drop down. And I think just because of Ubisoft and their practices, I think Defiant will probably be lower than Halo. Just because I think Halo has a bigger audience, a bigger install base, and a longer, I believe, than Tom Clancy. They'll be there for a while. Whether they hold out, again, I have to play them, I think, to really have a feel for that, how engaging they are. Halo's always fun to watch, competitively anyway. Mm-hmm. Especially if you get some really good people playing. It can be really entertaining. X Defiant, it looks like it can be entertaining. The abilities is what makes it. See, Halo's different. It's all about your awareness, your accuracy, things like that make Halo interesting. It's like when you see somebody, come around the corner and headshot, like 3 consecutive headshots to kill somebody quick, before they can get a shot off. That's the kind of thing that those fans are looking for. That's the kind of things that they enjoy. Whereas, and I'm generalizing, obviously it's not 100%. X Defiant people, I think, are going to be more of the people that are an Apex fan.
More of a competitive.
Yeah, Overwatch, X, those skill-based, ability-based gameplay mechanics is what those. That's a niche. That is a large fan base as well. Whether it's able to keep the attention all depends on the execution. The balance is key, because if you have everybody running, one person because that's the OP ability, and Apex is fairly good at making changes season to season to make the meta, as they would say, which is what everybody's their go-to as far as characters and abilities and guns. That kind of thing will have a profound outcome based on those factors. I don't know if I ever articulated that correctly. This is why I wrote all that stuff down. But yeah, that's my opinion on it. If that even came out right.
Oh, absolutely. I have a lot of things that I agree with in that because Tom Clancy, again, it's one of those tight knit communities. I don't feel that it's ever grown to the popularity that Halo ever has because Halo obviously is the OG, and it's a real, from people that have been part of Xbox since the beginning. Uh, they're all a fan of Halo, and if not, they've played it and they played enough of it to, because that's what you got when you first got an Xbox back in the day was Halo, and so I think it's going to be good. I think it's going to be a good adaptation for them and into the more modern game styles as well. I'm not sure on my personal, perception of the way things can go. I think that Warzone, I it's awesome. It's an awesome game for people that are into that. I think that Halo is going to be that run and gun, just mop the floors with people. But they're going to have multiple, they're going to have multiple game types and stuff like that as well. So I do think it's still going to stay in the order for me that it's going to be Warzone, Apex, Halo, and then X Defiant. I could be wrong, but that's just the way I perceive it. Even and obviously for a day, it could be any of them. For a couple days, it could be any of them because of those type of events and things. But yeah, the actual duration of time, I think it is going to be definitely still Warzone. Just because now people are so comfortable with it. I of course don't really enjoy it because you see the people that complain about the cheaters. I don't know anything about it because I don't know it well enough to know a difference. I just haven't been into it because you when you're juggling around a lot of things, it's hard to really focus on those things. But I enjoy them nonetheless. But Rocket League, in and out, in and out, in and out. You can play the most competitive games that you've had all week, and you just played four of them in a row, and it was 30 minutes,
Yep.
and so that's pretty awesome. So I am curious to see how they're going to do that with the Halo and with X Defiant, but I haven't been doing any real streaming besides the sessions because I've been just so focused on trying to get the sound and the light system set up for our band because every week or in every show you're constantly learning something new, something you got to do, and that's because we're the ones running the show. I'm running the sound, running the lights, and playing, and I'm at the point now where I have a really nice, comfortable system that we are able to use, and it's pretty much automatic. But I want to start being able to focus on my actual playing. So I'm trying to convince. I tried to convince two of my friends to just come and run sound for us for a night, and they're not going to be able to do it that night, and that's okay. But with that being said, in the future, near future, hopefully, we got a guy that's really interested in being part of the band, being the fifth member of the band. This is all not necessarily going to happen, but this is the potential of where I'm at in my head, and they are at, and where we need to be is have that fifth member of the band or sixth member as well, and so that way you get the same thing every single time. And then when you're getting to the shows, the band's playing, the sound group's running the sound. If the sound and light guys all in one, then they're doing that, and then you're up there just playing. Everything is getting to that point where we're self-sufficient with all the equipment that we've been able to purchase over the years and perfect. But we are ready. We are very, very, very ready to be able to push that. Um, to our following and our new future following, to be able to give them that big show that is just enjoyable. I get to talk about it on here because this podcast has been through a big ride with me and my music stuff so far. But last night we played a show, and I told you about, I bought uplights. They're, basically just a light. And I ended up buying them, and they showed up Friday. And we played last night, and we were playing. We weren't sure of the way the setup was going to be, if it was going to be like outside under a canopy or a tent pointing at a big field. We weren't sure if we were going to be setting up in like a cement patio with no protection. Like, we had no idea what we were going to at this venue. So it rained all day yesterday, all day. I even got to go to my family reunion on my side and hang out with them, and that, it was really nice. But we weren't sure what we were getting into when it comes to sound. Every place you play has a different need for sound, and it has a different type of sound. So we set everything up, and I didn't bring my Chauvet lights, my four changer, my big boys. I just brought the ups, and we get all set up, and I set one of them up because I'm excited, so I show the guys, and then I set one up in the back beside Jimmy. Before we get set up, I'm looking at all the stuff I have on my car, and I already slimmed it down because I'm like, screw it, it might rain, so I got to be prepared for that, so I don't lose valuable time setting up unnecessary things. So I didn't set up my subwoofer, and I used my little bass amp that I used for acoustic shows years ago, and we started playing, and we're jamming, and this guy in the crowd, he's just sitting there like this, and after we get done with the song, we're thanking everyone, and I was like, how's everything sounding? Because at the beginning we got just set up in a hurry. I didn't have my wireless system. Jerry walked out there. He said everything sounded okay, so we got started. Well, this is what we deal with, because there's always that one guy. So this guy, he's like, sitting there chilling, and he stands up, and he's like, he's like sitting there like leaning in his chair. He's like, the bass is too loud. And I'm like, oh, okay, thanks for letting me know. And he says, you're drowning everybody out. Okay, thanks. I appreciate you letting me know. It's not pleasant. Okay, I appreciate you letting me know. He's like, it's just too much. Okay, thank you. So here's, on a sound scale, here's what I was dealing with at the time. Well, whatever. I made a few adjustments real quick, and then I was faced with some problems while I was making these adjustments, which I'll get to in a second. But made a couple minor adjustments, and then after like the first set, I was able to make a big adjustment, and then the one set of in-ear monitors wasn't working. So I'm like, well, we're already started in the set. We'll figure it out after. So we get done. I get the pack. I check it. I look at it. And it's got a frequency range, like 589.2. And you have to match the transmitter up with the receiver. And somehow, I have no idea, somehow, they got changed on that battery pack. In order to do this, you have to open the pack, which I can grab and show you. You have to open the pack, and you have to hit the set button, and then you have to start hit up and downs on these things, and then close it, and it's protected again. The only time you open it is to change batteries. But you still have to go through a step process to change the frequency. On the receiver itself, you have to turn this knob, like this one knob, over to make it to be able to go into set mode or whatever, and then you gotta turn it until you get to the frequency and hit set. But you gotta change two numbers. There's a B1, 2, 3, and 4, which I think is bass, not like the sound, but like bass 1 frequency, bass 2 frequency, or something. Maybe bandwidth 1. That's probably what it is bandwidth 1, 2, 3, 4. And then each bandwidth, there's 4 bandwidth. Each bandwidth has a sub channel, and each sub channel has a 1 through 10. Okay, so we're on stage, and this is the stuff that I'm figuring out while we're still trying to play our best songs.
Why is there so many? Can I ask that?
I have no idea. So
Doesn't just have to
You
send the
can't, you
audio
can't,
from.
so you can't just turn the knob, right, and go to channel 10. So you literally have to go for, so like, let's say it's on 585.000. Let's say that that's at bandwidth 2, channel 10. So you have to, so I'm looking at it, I'm like, how the hell do these get switched?
Shuffle through
Whatever. Doesn't matter.
channels.
I'm just going to fix it. So I'm sitting there clicking the shit and trying to get it. So I'm looking at the pack and seeing the number it's on. I'm like, this is not working out. So I try changing the one on the main one. And I'm like, God, this is goofy. So then I realized that the one number is in a part of a group and the other number is in another part of the group. So I had to go through all four bandwidths and then the channels to find it. But I did that shit, dude, in seconds. I'm like, click, 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 got that mother. I got it. So I handed it back to him. I said, here, it's working just fine now. And he's like, well, what happened? Who cares? I got it. Let's go. And then towards the end of the night, Jerry's in here stopped working, and he's looking at me. I'm like, let me see your pack. He hands me the pack. I check the frequencies. They're right. I plug my buds in. It's working beautifully. I hand it back. I'm like, here you go. He tried it. I said, it must be your earbuds. And then we get done playing. At this time, we're done. We gone through all the hiccups of the sounds and stuff, which you always have. And these people that were watching the show, they were like, man, you guys are so fun, and you guys put on a great show. Sound was a little rocky at the beginning, but as soon as you guys adjusted a few things, you guys were great, Can't wait to have you guys play here again whenever. We'll make sure to put in a good word for you guys to get here again. And that meant a lot to me, because, again, there's always going to be that one guy. Last night there was two, another guy come up and the bass a little loud. So, of course, I try to adjust the bass down in the board, and then I try to adjust it on the bass rig, the gain, and the volume. So the problem I was faced with at the very beginning was, so I tried turning down the gain and the volume because my volume knob was at 2 out of 10. And then my gain, I got it to, I think, like 1 or 2 to get it to fire it up, to give it sound, because if you go below the threshold, you get absolutely nothing. So I found the lowest peak of it, right? And so the volume that was too loud was at 2. The rest of the night, which was good, was at 1 1/4. Okay, but it makes a difference. Trust me. Like they were right. They were right, and I'm glad they pointed out. And that's why I kept telling them, "Thank you so much." I didn't let it piss me off or hurt my feelings. Like they're the ones that's got to put up with it. I'd much rather them just be like, "Dude, it ain't working." Okay, cool. Thank you. Let me figure it out. But let's not forget, I'm also figuring it out and still playing at the same time up on the stage, trying to run 4 people's in-ear monitor systems, all the main power systems, the mediocre light show. I'm running all this crap, and I'm in my head, and I'm just like, yeah, no problem. So so the other thing that I was tackled with at the very beginning was I had a speaker, probably about back here, pointed directly at the back of my head, which is pointing directly at, that's correct, my microphone. So you think of, if the sound is hitting the back of my head, it's coming around and it's picking all that up, and it's displaying all that on the sides of the microphone of my bass rig that's a little loud, and all of the vocals and the guitars and everything that's coming out the 2 main speakers also going into my microphone and looping back out into the main sound. So the reason why it was doing that was because when we first set up, there was people sitting at the corner of this bar that was literally 2 feet from where we were set up. So I turned the speaker away from their ears so that way they wouldn't be getting hit with everything in their ears. I didn't even think about it until after they had left after the first set. And then I'm like, oh crap. I turned the speaker away from my microphone. Man, it cut the sound down so much. It was beautiful. In hindsight, these are where I keep myself accountable, and this is where it gets fun. All I had to do was walk back to the bass amp and turn the bass down a little bit on the EQ of the bass. And it would have fixed the problem. I wouldn't have lost my volume. It wouldn't have been trying to find a threshold of being too quiet, too loud. It was clearly loud enough. It just had too much bass. So if I should have backed off because it was acoustic. So I had my little bass amp. We had a cajon and two acoustic guitars with amps. And, then I didn't use my subwoofer. So all I have are my mains. And mains are more sent for the ones that I brought were more set for like a higher tone frequency, more mids, more highs because you're using it combined with a powered sub. So I was trying to find the right balance of highs and lows with the mains and my bass amp, but that isn't going to achieve that. It had to be the bass subwoofer, a part of the main system. That would have worked. So I learned in that show that all I had to do was turn the bass, not even my volume onto my guitar, just the bass of the EQ. And next show, I'm not going to use an amp again. Now I'm just going to use my bass amp. The next time we play there, I might use the powered sub like I was doing last year for an acoustic show. And go back to that slightly smaller setup just to make it happen. But I could also use my bass amp because it does the same thing, and I'm already familiar with the tonality of it and where it's at. And I'd just be using a loop straight in, so I wouldn't have to. But I wouldn't have anything playing back for me as a monitor. But if we're playing a smaller acoustic show, I got to go back to that, which we were doing and did work.
Okay.
So all those lessons, last night were awesome. And then when we were done playing, and I was walking by this older couple, and this lady, she looks at me and she says, I come over and says, yes. She said, you guys sound great. I said, thank you. I looked at her and her husband. I said, thank you very much. We appreciate it. And she said, I walked up and I had to take a look. That's a 5-string, huh? I was like, yes, ma'am. As a matter of fact, it is. And she says, what kind of guitar is that? I'm like, well, it's a Ernie Ball Music Man Stingray 5. And she's like, oh, I thought it was a jazz bass. She's like, it sounds great. It sounds crisp. She said, your sound tonight. She said, that your sound sounded great tonight. Mind you, all night long, all I had was, there's too much bass.
Again, it's perception. It's like we're going back to video games. It's all about what you enjoy and what you.
Right, what people themselves enjoy, And I normally always have my bass tame and quiet, and people are constantly telling me to turn it up. I tried to bring the volume.
I said that when I saw you play.
Yeah, you said turn it up. I know. I remember. And then you smacked me on my ass and handed me a Laffy Taffy. We had a good time at the fair. But yeah, so again, I always used to be quiet. So now I turn it up a little bit more to add more volume to the stage. And so that way, because the guys are always like, hey, I need a little more of you so I can feel it more, whatever. So this couple, she's like, yeah, so I'm a bass player and I played for 50 years.
On that show?
And I was like, wow, that's really awesome. And she's like, yeah, I got a Fender jazz bass or P bass at home. I just looked at her and smiled. I says, maybe one day I can afford to get one of them beauties, And she was, in her own words, she said basically, it's worth the wait. And she said that the fact that she told me that she enjoyed my sound and all that,
awesome.
I just looked her right in the face and said, I just want you to know that meant a lot to me, and I want you to know that a lot of people have told me a lot of things about the performance tonight, but that's the one I'm going to remember. And her husband, he's like, yeah, we don't normally listen to country or rockers, but you guys, you played like that Marshall Tucker, and we got to see him live in Erie some time ago, and it was really cool because they were just like
That's
so
awesome.
supportive of us, and they weren't like the bass is too loud, and she was like, man, I love your sound, it was like, thank you, lady,
That's awesome, man.
So our next show that we're playing is August 6th at Doc Holidays, and I'm super excited about it because on Friday, to anyone that follows us on Facebook or any of that, we released our single "Life Today" on Spotify and
Yeah, but
Amazon Music and Apple
go check out our
Music
Facebook page. I just posted it on there.
and every major platform you can legitimately go to right now,
Hmm.
and you can listen to South of 90 Life Today. Our first day, Friday, Life Today had 51 plays
That's awesome.
on its first drop. So kudos to the
Oh yeah,
band.
man,
Kudos
that's
to
fucking awesome, dude.
everybody out there. Man, I'll tell you what, it means a lot, you know. Makes all the hard work and everything all this time just so great and so cool. Thank you to all you guys that have supported us the whole way, and for anybody that's new, gonna check it out. But me and my good friend, we've been talking a lot. I tell you about it. I go to the farm and we talk about the sound and the music and stuff. And he's just like, this is what you need to get, and this is what you need to do. He says you got to give him the show. You got to give him the show. He says until you get, he says you deserve to be able to give him the show and be able to just focus on your playing and just being able to be that guy. He says, but
Yep.
it takes this and it takes this and it takes this guy too. And, people need to appreciate that and respect that and understand that it takes a team. Um, and of course he's right, and that's why I tell him all the time. Like, yeah, man, I said I'm ready to have somebody there. So I reached out to one of my buddies and asked him if he'd run sound for that show. I said, I'll provide the sound, the equipment, the ride. I'll pay you out of my pocket, and all you have to do is just make sure it sounds okay out front. He's like, man, I can't do it. I already have an obligation. I'm like, son of a bitch. And then, so I asked my other buddy, I'm like, I already know the answer is no, but I'm going to ask you
You have to ask.
anyways. And I asked him, he said, I can't commit to that. And I said, okay, well, I had to ask. But pretty soon here, our live shows are going to be changing. We've got some new things we're working on as a band that's going to bring our show even more full, more where it needs to be to show everybody that we're proud of who we are, what we do, show everybody we work hard and we deserve to be
Mhm.
there as much as everyone else that are there. And kudos to all those guys, all of our country cousins and rock cousins, and like
Shit, when you
keep
guys
it
get
up,
big,
y'all. You know,
when you guys hit it big, I get to say, hey, I watched them practice.
that's right, man.
I watched
Uh,
them live.
and he says, in fact, I was the first guy to record them. Not to brag, but I was hitting the record button. But it's just truly awesome because all the hard work and it's we haven't even started. We're still at our baby stages as a band, and it takes time. And everybody wants to be a rock star overnight, but it takes a lot of time and hard work and dedication. Just like streaming, people want to stream and they want people to watch their stream. They have to stream all the time.
Yeah.
If they say they're going to stream at a certain time, they have to be there. If they say they're streaming for a period of time, they have to be there. They have to be consistent, or at least be open with their streamers. And it's a full time job, just like an OnlyFans. It's just like anything that people get into. You only get out of it what you put into it. And Me, I plan on doing an episode of Nacho Average Dare this week. I might start changing the narrative because I kind of just bebop along, and that's fun and entertaining. But I have some things that I've been wanting to do more of, and I haven't because I've been having to achieve getting ready for the bigger shows. Because, dude, I'm telling you, once you tell people that you got stuff online and you're showing people that you're a band that isn't afraid to go to Nashville, and you're a band that isn't afraid to get up and play these shows and play the small shows, like, dude, it changes. That's the grind. Right now, that's all I've been focusing on. I mean, how long? Do you remember when we first talked about last year when I was talking about wanting to get those stupid little uplights because it would be cool because it would just change the mood of the stage. It add some different lighting variety.
Yep.
I have waited for a year to be
Mhm.
able to afford these things with making extra money at the shows, uh, and those type of things. Because if you can't afford it, you can't afford it. But if you
Yeah.
save your money and you work hard, it took me a year to save this money to be able to get these. But I finally got them by paying small, $5 a week $5 every other show. It didn't matter. Sometimes I just put the money in, sometimes I didn't, but I just made up for it. But now, as of last night, I know exactly what I'm going to get out of those lights at the shows. I know what it now adds. I can get back to focusing on working on my music even more. I've been practicing all the time, and I mean, I've showed you things that I've been working on and writing and things like that. But I haven't been streaming because I hit a roadblock with my interface. The last time I sat down and I hooked everything up, and I was ready to record, and I was ready to do a Twitch live of me sitting here in this room singing my original songs that I'd like to do a private show. You know, not private, but I like to keep it low key because the songs are unregistered. Those are coming up very soon because I've been putting a couple bucks towards all that, and I'm going to get all my songs registered, and I'm going to get them everything right. But I want to be able to play some of the stuff that's already copyrighted, and I want to be able to play some of those songs and just get on and do a stream. And when I went to use the interface, it was I hit playback, and it was buzzing. I'm like, what the hell is it? Why is it buzzing? Why the hell is this buzzing? Everything sounded okay because anybody that's on YouTube, if you've checked out any of my videos, I've done a review for the Gleam stand, music stand, which I enjoy doing and actually I've been wanting to do that again, but my system has not been right. I got my Yeti. That thing is awesome. I would never just knock that. But when it comes to my music and it comes to those type of things, I find that in that situation, if you're going to be doing a music, playing the guitar, you can use the condenser all day for vocals and they sound beautiful. You can do it all day if you want to sit here and play the acoustic guitar and sing and have it record all of that. But I want to be able to take the sound of my bass guitar in directly and be able to have that true tone. Or actually what it boiled down to was I want to be able to take a regular XLR microphone into the board. That's the first thing. The second thing is my guitar or my bass guitar or instrument of choice at the time a line, and then the music. So if you're going to jam along with the song, have it be able to the music go directly in it. So then everything is hardlined, and then you can manipulate that sound rather than having just a condenser mic that's recording everything all at one time.
Yeah,
it sounds you can get it to sound okay, but it just doesn't give that punch. So when I hooked it all up, as you know, we tackled the mountain and figured out ways around it. It sounded good. Well, I hooked it up and that shit was buzzing. You know what I did, don't you? I disconnected it. I said, piss on that. I ain't got time for that. And I just moved on. So I did hook it back up today. And here's how what I think was the problem. And here's the solution. So on my computer, I have 3 USB ports. First port, I have my webcam. My second port, I have my Yeti microphone. And then the third port has a coupler, a splitter, a divider, whatever you want to call it, 4 ways. So 4 into 1. I know you get it, but I'm explaining it to someone that might not. So I have 4 potential jacks, USB plugs. So I have my lighted controller, my lighted keyboard, and my fancy lighted mouse. Well, you take all of that sucking on one coupler or one splitter, also taking a USB line from interface, you're probably going to get some noise because those light up in things, just like if you hook up stage lights or to a system without a ground, you hear the buzz. So, in theory, that could be the problem. And I did hook it up earlier direct, the USB interface. I unplugged the Yeti because I'm like, well, screw it. I don't need the Yeti if I'm plugged direct. I have 4 potentials. If I wanted to do my microphone and a microphone on the guitar, I can just set up a separate microphone and don't have to use the Yeti because I do have another condenser mic. It'll sound great. As long as I can get rid of that stupid buzz. Initially, I thought the buzz was my my Amazon special 1/8" to extension 10 foot, because this guy from day one when I bought it, it buzzes a little bit.
Mhm.
Bad wiring, probably. Who gives a
Bad
shit?
shielding.
I paid a few
Yeah.
bucks for it. It still
Yeah, it's just
works.
bad,
It's
bad
just
shielding is what it is.
it's just a little buzzy, you know. But
Mhm.
when you're just listening to something in your head for playing live things, it's okay.
Mhm.
But I was thinking maybe I had this hooked up, and I was like, oh, it's that. And I'm like, no, I don't have that hooked up. I'm not using that. It's not that. I plugged the headphones in direct. Problem.
Mhm.
Still happens. I take every line, I test them all out. Still a problem. That's how I limited it down to the USB line itself. So I figure worst case scenario, I change the USB cord. It might fix it. Or if I put it direct, it should fix it. I feel that's the leading culprit. So if I did, in fact, figure that out and I get that working tonight or tomorrow night, then definitely keep an eye on Facebook. I could even post it on Sprangboro Sessions when I'm going to go live, because I am going to probably do a nacho average dare. Those are fun. I don't know how I'm going to present it, or how I'm going to do that, or if I'm going to still go with that name, or I'm going to give it a stupid little, it's a different type of show. I don't know. Who cares?
Call it Sprangboro Solo Sessions.
Yeah, something. But I do
With the
plan
three
on
S's.
figuring that out, because now I have the energy and the extra room in my frame of thoughts every day to figure this out. It's all hooked up. I think I'm going to get it figured out tonight. And I think it's going to be awesome when I do. And I think if I do, then, make sure that you guys also, if you haven't subscribed to the YouTube page, you can find me under Sprangboro. You can find me under Jamie Dare. Get on out there and give a subscribe. Give a subscribe on the Twitch.
It helps a lot.
You
All the
know,
likes whenever you see the
get
videos,
on
hear the videos,
TJ's. Get on TJ's
share it,
stuff.
like it.
Get on.
It helps a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Because what it does is I don't know if a lot of people realize, is that by hitting the like button, even commenting on videos or in posts, that puts it with that little bit of interaction, pushes it up into the algorithm more, so it gets more interaction, showing there's an interaction there, and it puts it in front of more people, because the algorithm is looking at the reactions, like, dislike, and it's also looking at what's being said in the comment section, and it's suggesting people that have maybe commented something similar on another video, going, okay, well, they might like this. That's kind of how the very basic, rudimentary explanation of how the algorithm works. It's way more complicated than that, but it's very basic layman term that I can think of. But it definitely helps a lot, all that stuff. So please, I know people always hear this on YouTube and stuff, but liking, sharing,
You guys are
following,
awesome.
those
Thank
things.
you.
Yeah, we appreciate everyone here for that. And, again, it just gets us out into more people's ears and faces. So,
Up here, because I'm going to be putting this up on YouTube when we're done with it. I have to catch up on the last one or two. I think, what was it, 59 or something? I told you I didn't have any audio up to 50, like 23 minutes
yeah,
or something. That's why I didn't post it. I will get it from TJ one of these days, but I think I did try to, but it just gave me a runaround. I'm like, screw it, I ain't got the energy yet.
yeah,
We'll cross that mountain when I'm ready. But um, I am going to be putting 60 and 61 up today or tomorrow, up on SoundCloud and YouTube, to get those up there to get more concurrent. But with that being said, this guy right here up in my top
thank you.
corner, this
Mhm.
painting here, I wanted to say a big shout out to Uncle Chris. Uh, he through the pandemic needed a new hobby, so he picked up painting.
Oh, nice.
Painting, and he said he had like 45 or 50 paintings or laying around the house, whatever. But I was joking around with him, and I'm like, hey, when am I going to get one of them? So he's like, well, which one do you want? I said, well, I got a thing for purple. He says, I think I have just the thing. So he showed me some pictures of some paintings, and I was like, well, I like that one. So he brought it to me, and so that's up there.
Oh, that's awesome.
I wanted to say thank you for that, because again, it's encouraging and it's inspiring to see that, because a guy that never painted in his life went through all the growing pains and all the heartaches and the mental process of figuring out how to do that. I can't do that. I can appreciate that.
Looking at the color scheme from here, it actually matches up perfectly to the visual aesthetic I have.
Yeah.
I have blue and purple going on right now is the new fresh coat of paint on the Sprangboro Sessions video side of it.
Oh
So
man, that is
it's kind of
awesome.
funny. It's kind of funny that it's like if you look in the corner, or if you're watching this, I don't know how many people actually watch it, but if you watch it, it's kind of funny that it's like exactly the same color tones as what I have on the
I can't
Sprangboro
wait to see
Sessions.
that.
That's
Uh,
awesome.
so this morning I woke up, and uh, I went out to the garage to go grab my bass guitar amp, and every day, because the job of a pool boy never ends.
Yeah.
So I went out there. It's been raining the last few days. Like I said, it rained all day yesterday and stuff. The other day, I had the water, like, do you know the seam around the top? Then it has like the little checkered stuff. So
Mhm.
where the seam starts is where I always base my visual off of it. And I go out there this morning, and with a couple days of rain, I'm like, man, this thing sure does look like it's down about 3 or 4 inches. In fact, I'm 100% certain that it's down about 3 or 4 inches further than it should be right now.
Yep.
And I won't even tell you about when I changed the oil in my car the other day and I spilled my oil like that was dripping down. I had it in the wrong place. I was in a hurry, multitasking, and I
Mhm.
got oil everywhere on the cement. But luckily, I went and got cat litter, and that'll take care of that. But um, so I'm like, this water is just down way too far. So I'm looking around the pool, and I didn't really. I was like trying to look and see if I could find water, and I finally found a spot that looked pretty wet, just judging by all the water that was there. Uh, so I looked inside the pool, and like if you don't have a strong enough filter, but it's enough to get the pool, water kind of clean. The filter gets clogged like every 3 days or something because it's just not meant for doing a whole lot.
Yeah.
So so that's what we have because the one that came with our pool when we got it, it was missing parts and stuff, and we just put a smaller pool's filter on it. Well, I looked down in the pool, and where there's like a little bit of the algae that still we're cleaning from when had it all settled, there was a little spot probably about that big that looked really clean in the middle of all the sediments. It looked very clean, and in the middle of that, it looked like it had a little dot. Well, that dot, was probably about the size of like a small Phillips head screwdriver, just poked right down. So I'm like, I think that's the culprit there. So I came in, I got the wife to come out and look, and she's because she's more fluid with this stuff. So she comes out and she starts lifting up the bottom of the pool, and all of a sudden she's like, listen. I bend down, and all you hear is water starts shooting out a little stream. I'm like, well,
Oh, yeah.
I guess that's definitely the culprit. So here's me. I got a great idea. Olivia, when she wakes up, put your bathing suit on. You're gonna jump in the pool. So she comes over, and I'm trying to tell her that I want her to move the little sediments around a little bit to be able to put the patch on. So she goes to walk over there. She goes to reach for the sediments, and she gets a bunch of it. I'm like, it's a good thing I kind of paid attention to where the hole was, because if not, I wouldn't have been able to see it
Yeah.
because it moved too much too fast. And I'm just like, kid, you're doing awesome. Let Dad get in there. So again, we've had the pool up for a few weeks, and I go out there and I skim it, often. And so I get down to the boxers and I just get in there, and I'm like holding a broomstick on the spot where I think the hole is very close to. Uh, she gives me her princess sunglasses or goggles that have like eyelashes on it, and she's just laughing because there's me. I'm like freezing. I'm like, oh yeah, and it was hot out, humid as hell. And she's laughing at me. So finally, I go under the water, and she's like, finally, Dad. She was happy because it's the first time I've got in, and so she was holding the broom handle there for me, and I went down under the water, and I'm looking. I find it. I get the patch on there. And I get up, I'm like, all right, I think I got it. This is good. And she's like, are you going to stay in now, Dad? I'm like, Well, I guess I'm here now. So I got out and I ran over to the table out on the patio and I voice or whatever Facebook Messenger I got on there with her. She was in the living room in the house. I'm like, hey, bring me out some shorts and a towel. Kids got me in the pool. So yeah,
That's awesome.
she was kind enough to bring me that stuff out. But it was just nice because that's how I got to spend my day to day was lounging in the pool for a while with the kid, making her
That's
smile,
awesome.
and got got to talk to my buddy about you know getting new focuses with music and just trying to get doing some things, achieving things, things we always talk about.
Mhm.
Um, but I know you want to talk about something that's very important and it's very big because you've put a lot
Yeah.
of effort and time into it. And I want you to get into it. But I am going to tell you that while you start, I am going to use the facilities real quick.
Okay. All right.
And I will be right back. Um, to the viewers out there, thank you again for everything. See you guys in a minute. I'm not gonna like usually. We turn our camera off. I'm just leaving it on there so y'all can check out
Yeah.
this awesome painting.
Yeah.
Thanks, Uncle Chris.
Yeah.
All right, I'll be right
Thank
back.
you. All right. So the thing that I wanted to talk about was a big thing going on in the news about the workforce shortage and why people don't want to go back to work, and why they are continuing to stay on the unemployment with the extended benefits and the how this has upset a fairly large portion of the population. I understand where, I want people to know ahead of time. I understand why people are on both sides. I do see why people are upset that, they're not getting that same consideration. They were deemed essential workers. I was part of that essential workforce and I still am. Um, so I understand why people would be upset with it, that they would feel the way they feel. But I also want to explain in depth because I have seen a lot of misguided hate online, and it's not going to really diminish any of that, but it's going to make me feel better to get this kind of stuff out there. And you'll have to excuse me. I had to write it all down because, again, you notice following the podcast, I've gotten a little bit better at articulating what I want to come across and say, but I still have those moments where I fall short. And again, I'm growing. But so I wrote down all my thoughts this afternoon just before the podcast started to kind of get that stuff out so I would remember what I was actually thinking at the time. Because I've been thinking about this for a while, and it's kind of important to me as far as how I feel about the situation. So here goes. I'll read what I wrote down today. So the workforce shortage and why people don't want to go back to work to a miserable position. Miserable is subjective, as we've talked about today a lot. Seems to be the theme is that it's subjective. Things are always subjective. Music, work, life, love, all these things are subjective. That's the human condition. Um, so a lot of these people they have had to reevaluate their position and what it means to be unhappy and taken advantage of, as well as being treated as lower than human when being rated by an unstable customer. Um, Anybody who's worked in a retail environment, customer service of any kind, we've all run into that. I've spent my 25 plus years on the workforce in the labor division, working with customers in retail, restaurants, so on and so forth. And I've had my fair share of people who they expect you to, that old saying that the customer is always right. It's not always right. They're not always right. But anyways, that's another story for another time. So being berated by an unstable customer, why on earth would someone go back to that? And to add insult to it all, they were deemed by their representatives, by their government representatives, that they were non-essential. Kind of makes you think about what your path is, and it's kind of for the government again to be able to just completely shut everything down, not due to any fault of their own. They go to work, they work their 40 plus hours a week, 50, 60 hours. A lot of these people are working multiple jobs. Um, it kind of makes you think about what your path is. Now, that's not to say that there are not people who take advantage of the system. These types of people are always and already taking advantage of the system in some form or another beforehand. And there was never this much. There was a people spoke about it. There was never um, this much of an outrage or a blanket statement that all of these people are scum and lazy. It is unfair to judge that which we do not know to be true. Meaning, we don't know these people. We don't know their situations. We don't know what their job work life is like. Um, and I'll get into a little bit more of that in a minute. Um, these types of people were already taken advantage of in the system before. Yeah, so they're already taken advantage of the system before. And to make that kind of a blanket statement is really unfair. It is unfair to judge what you don't know. Their circumstances or what they're doing at this time to better their position. We don't know that. We don't know what people now have, 50 hours free a week that they didn't have before, because they're working and then they come home and they would, spend a little time with their family and their kids, maybe, do what I did, play a few video games, and then they'll go to sleep to go to work the next day. Some people working 7 days a week. If I was deemed non-essential and had the opportunity, I'm sure would and my life and this podcast would be vastly different. Um, but yeah, knowing I could spend all of my time learning new skills, which I did in my time, I took off voluntarily, due to being an essential worker. So as many of you know who followed us from the very beginning, where I have fairly bad asthma, which at the time for COVID, that was one of the large comorbidity factors, along with that with my grandmother. So I can't essentially go in. I was working at Frito-Lay, packing out chips in grocery stores. I couldn't be around that many people, considering that, if you all remember what the grocery stores were like when this pandemic hit, everybody was in these grocery stores every day, all day. So I couldn't put myself on my family without this. So I had to take a leave of absence. And on the leave of absence, I was getting 60% pay of what a 40-hour week would be. Not granted, I was putting in 50 plus hours a week. Now the thing is that with overtime, I was making good money. So essentially, my pay was cut in less than half. Um, doing it 60%. And then after, I think it was 12 weeks. Yeah, it's 12 weeks. It would drop down to 45%, I believe it is, what my pay was of a 40-hour week. So I had to go back to it. I couldn't take that much of a pay cut and still be able to afford basic bills. I was barely doing it at 60%. But I was able to acquire new skills. I acquired a little bit of editing skills. I acquired, I spent a lot of time learning how to do what you see in front of you. I feel like that was time well spent. But anyways, I wasn't afforded even my full weekly pay, as I said. Even close to half of the staff out due to being the person. Oh, here we go. So this is what else I was speaking about. Sorry. I wasn't afforded even my full weekly pay, even though Frito-Lay and my parent company, PepsiCo, which owns Frito-Lay, and Taco Bell, like as well. So it became a record increase in profits for the year. They went up 2% in profits. 2% of what they make. 2% doesn't sound like a lot, but we make billions of dollars. Percent is a large change. Hiding that fact. Even close to half its staff out due to being, and this is with they're close to half their staff being out due to the same things that I was the absence for. So the company had the ability to pay these employees more than 60% if they chose not to. We didn't get any extra benefits from the government. There were no extra. There was no extra money afforded us. So I was upset about that. I understood where people come from. People are on unemployment. They're getting why do they connect 60%, but I have to because I have to volunteer they're getting kicked off there. I have to volunteer myself or put my family in jeopardy. And I'm so, and a lot of my friends, family, people that I know, are in senior citizens. So I understand you being upset about the extended health unemployment policies. Um, so now, in Kansas, a Frito-Lay factory has gone on strike just days ago due to overworked scheduling to keep up with the demand in the past year. People working split shifts, 12, 12-hour shifts for 5+ months straight, working 12-hour shifts, going home for 8 hours, and that's including your drive there, drive back, and then having to be back on shift 8 hours later when they just left, and doing that day in and day out for 5+ months. There was a lot of people that committed suicide. There were people that actually dropped dead in the factory. The management pulled the body out and replaced them with somebody else and kept everything going, which is actually, there's an OSHA investigation going into that now. And I posted a little bit about that. I posted actually the video from Sagar, and I forget her name. I posted a video on, I believe, my Facebook, and I'll share the video again onto the Sprangboro Sessions page. I invite everybody to take a look at it. It's appalling, and I'm boycotting buying any Frito-Lay products, Taco Bell or Pepsi products from now on. Not that I bought a whole lot of them before, but I'm definitely not engaging with that company anymore because it's appalling what they did to these people that were coming into work in their lives during this. Um, so, and without a single day off. So they would go 5 months without a day off, working 7 days a week with this split shifts. Granted, yeah, they made a lot of money, but they were working literally to death. A gentleman, one of the stories is one of the drivers was on the road, pulled over, fell asleep, and never woke up in his work truck. Um, yeah, it's pretty. So they're picketing and striking over at that place right now. So yeah, if you check out that on the Facebook page, I'll post that on there. And again, I hope you'll check it out. I would definitely invite all polite discussion on this, and I'm definitely open to others' points of view. I'm hoping people understand that by now, that they realize that I'm willing to listen to others' point of view on this. But again, the whole point of this is that I don't feel that people should be shamed for not wanting to go back to a crappy job when these people, these restaurant owners are saying, well, we're understaffed because people are lazy and they don't want to go back to work. They want $15 an hour. When you break it down, $15 an hour doesn't pay for rent in most major cities. Okay.
Especially nowadays, because everything
Yeah.
has gone up because of the process. It's just the way it goes.
Yeah. And then you're not even accounting into, you've got rent, you've got electricity, you've got gas, you've got your food, you've got your transportation, you've got your fuel for your car, you've got your car insurance, you've got your cell phone bill. Add all of these up, okay? $1,600, I think it is. If you figure about every 2 weeks. No, 16. I figured it out. I wish I wrote it down. It barely covers that if you work like 50 hours a week, and then you'll have like maybe $100 to put into the bank to save. Okay, now those people are kicked out of their jobs. They've been saving for a year. They've barely saved up enough in a year. If not, actually, with $100 in the bank, they haven't even saved up enough in a year to pay 1 month's rent at $1,800 a month. Does that seem fair? Does that seem like we should automatically push them back into a company that we force them out of because we closed that company down as a government? It doesn't seem fair to me, and it doesn't seem fair to them to expect them to be like, oh, okay, I can go back. You guys say I can go back to work now, to be and not have security and not have a job security. You basically, I was miserable at this job. And then you fired me from that job that I was miserable at, but it was what I had to do to survive. And then now you're berating me because I'm not willing to jump back into that with no safety net. There's no safety net there. I mean, this is what we pay taxes for. This is why we pay taxes. People don't realize that. I think it was Eisenhower that said something. This is kind of a little bit off track, but it goes back to it. Eisenhower didn't address on his. I believe it was Eisenhower. Please, if somebody can correct me. I was trying to find the clip to play earlier, but I couldn't find it. Where he was talking about the military. It's a very famous speech where he's talking about the military industrial complex, and he was warning about what can happen. Uh, and if you look at where we're at on our budget as an American economy, Bernie Sanders wanted to take 10% out of the I think it was $740 billion military budget that we had 1 year, and he's proposing to take, I think it was last year, he's proposing to take 10% of that, just 10%, okay, to divert that to Americans' needs, to put that back into the American economy rather than, because basically that money goes into these huge corporations. They buy tanks. They buy. I think I think when Eisenhower was talking about it in his speech, he gave like an explanation of what the cost of one tank would put up 3 schools. The cost of one tank would pay for 3 schools. How many times do we in 5 year period do we just scrap tanks and buy all new ones? Do we scrap fighter jets and buy all new ones? At this point, it's almost like buying cell phone models. It gets to the point where to be the number one military power in the world, we keep feeding that monster, and it's just way more money than is needed. And these companies, these major companies, they're abusing the system and his system so that he doesn't have to go back to a miserable job. I'm appalled by how these 1%ers are taking advantage of the workforce, the blood, the sweat, the tears, the backs of all these people that are finally have an opportunity to do something better, to maybe better their lives. The American dream was about getting a place, being able to have, a family, a house, a car, being able to go on vacations. That was the American dream. That's no longer a possible thing for an average American. They had that propaganda so that they could get more people into the workforce. That was why we had open borders back in the 20s and 30s and 40s. We had all these people, influx of people in the 1900s. We wanted this workforce to come in. So you have to put out this thing of come to, you have a chance at the American dream. And for a short time you did. But then these corporations, they get their hands in there and they make all these loopholes and start outsourcing jobs. And it becomes less about the American people creating things, and it becomes more about the American people consuming things. And it's just this whole pandemic has opened up a whole Pandora's box of what we don't do. We don't make anything anymore. I mean, all of our vaccines, all of our stuff, all our medicines are made overseas. Food, a lot of our food we don't make any. It's so much stuff is outsourced outside of the United States, and the pandemic has shown that, and we still haven't bounced back. It's been a year. We've been over a year now, a year and a half, and people are getting more vaccinations, and yet we're still not bounced back. The grocery stores are still light on food.
Right, but we already figured it'd be 2-3 years before we'd even know a significant change.
But that's also because we don't make anything. We work these people in these jobs to death without any chance of climbing out of these holes. And then when the rug's pulled out from underneath all these people, and our government is actually supposed to do something that it should be designed to do, is to take care of the American people. We jump on those people because we didn't get that same advantage. And again, I understand the anger and the perception of being lazy. There are always going to be people that are lazy, especially in this large population that we have, and the amount of different people we have. There's always going to be people that take advantage of it. But there's also the corporations do the same thing, and nobody bats an eye. And that's pretty much. I think I've gotten across my point on it. I think that we need to be a little bit more compassionate to people, and maybe start talking about taking some of this money away from the government, outboarding programs, and stop buying bombs, stop buying tanks. We don't need it. We are a large work. We are a large force to be reckoned with. Nobody's going to fuck with us. Okay, we have a large group of people. We still have the draft. We have a large group of people that we can send to war if we need to. Nobody's knocking on our door trying to take us over. You know where they're trying to take us over? Through our economy. And because we're outsourcing everything, our economy is more at stake than our borders. And that's the problem. And people aren't realizing that. And it's been on my mind a lot lately. And there are people out there that articulate things a lot better about it than I do. And things you should probably take a look at. Louis Rossman, he's on YouTube. He does a lot of repair videos. The reason I started following him is because I was big into cell phone repair, and he does Apple MacBook repairs. I was really interested in maybe pursuing that. So I watched a lot of his videos to see what it entailed, what kind of skills I would need to learn, if it was something that I would be capable of picking up as far as my comfortability with the process. And he's championed a lot of things like right to repair. He's got a lot of, in my opinion, he's got a lot of really solid views on things. He's the one that's kind of sparked my knowledge of what's going on. It's by listening to some of the stories that he covers, and some others as well. But yeah, I'd like to hear what people's opinions are about it, and I hope that we can keep it civil. And I think everybody that listens and follows us is of that nature. And again, if we don't agree, we don't agree. But that's just my opinion on it.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you pointed out a lot of that stuff. It definitely has opened my eyes on a few things that I didn't notice before or think about. That does make a lot of sense. And again, people are entitled to their opinions, and feel free to let us know. I know that I'm gonna have to get ready to go eat my dinner, but before I do, I did want to tell you congratulations on your guys' first week, a couple days as an actual team. I know they're still doing the trades and they're still figuring out all that from the draft, the first draft, the initial draft.
Yes, yeah,
I will say the jerseys look pretty awesome.
I know, right?
They do. A lot of people are chirping about it, which is funny because for anyone that's interested in hearing anything about that, keep an eye on my YouTube because I'm putting up a video this week, and it's gonna be something I've not done before.
Well, the thing is like I like their logo like this because it's Seattle's Kraken, it's Sandwich, where town I'm from, and it's Sprangboro Sessions.
Nice, that's right, south of 90.
South of 90.
Just saying, all wonderful things. Hey,
awesome.
Yes, I'm gonna get on there and do like I don't know, anywhere. I'm gonna do a short piece, but I'm gonna do my first hockey talk instead of honky tonk. It's gonna be my hockey talk, and I'm gonna talk about what's on my hockey mind, because I want to do that more often. That's one of the things I'm trying to figure out. So I've actually been compiling some notes. So even you may want to check it out to see what
definitely. I'll definitely
say. When I record it, I might go live on Twitch. I don't know, but if you guys, all the ones that are out there checking for the they're subscribed to my notifications, and I know in the notifications it tells you the topic or whatever. It will be called just Hockey Talk. So because I have
maybe I should do something similar with like a novice's introduction to hockey.
Seattle Kraken.
My journey.
You ready? You ready?
My journey through the hockey.
Are you ready?
To following hockey.
Before I trademark this, I'll share it with you. And you can call it, Seattle Kraken IMO. IMO, in my opinion. Seattle Kraken IMO. But yes, I think too much. But yeah, so pay attention to that. And actually, if you start yours and you start doing yours like and I start doing mine, we can collaborate on those and we can mash them. And we could bring it to bring it to the session, see what you've been
Hell
thinking
yeah.
about and talking about. So yeah, because it's fun to me. They might be five
Yeah.
minutes segments. They might
Yeah.
be 30
Yeah,
minutes.
I
I
don't
don't
think
know.
it'd be that much.
I got no plans of how I want to do it. But this week, I accountability right now. I'm gonna have it up by Thursday night, and it's gonna be on YouTube, and it's gonna be on SoundCloud. However, I might record it on Tuesday night. I might record it on Wednesday night or Monday night. I don't know. But Thursday night it's going to be up on everything. So just keep an eye
I
open
know.
for that.
I know till later. Mine won't be till the season starts. I think maybe I do something like
Oh yeah, yeah. For me,
my first.
for
Maybe I'll
me,
try to do like my first game, Seattle game watch. You know what I mean? Like my reaction to it, type thing.
yeah. We'll see. Remember how we said we were going to get the hockey pass this year? Well, we didn't because of COVID being all weird, and you can't just justify spending the money. I went to, but I was told not to at the time. Well, it also hockey's moved back to ESPN or TSPN or something, so it's going to be ESPN2. So if you have I can't remember if it was which one it was, but if you have like a Prime account on them, you can watch them all. Blah 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 blah. So we are getting the package. We are getting the NHL package. So there's going to be times that I'm going to get on and I'm going to just go down the rabbit hole on the NHL app, and I'm just going to do my reactions to the news and the videos. That's kind of what it's going to be like, but. It'll be nice. There'll come a game. I know there's a game in October between Vegas and Seattle because they're in the same division. But I don't know what night of the week it is, and I doubt we'll be able to talk about it. But I'll be able to like do my reaction while it's playing on my own end because I can't have the sound of it going in, but where I can watch it on another device, which is probably
You
what
can
I
have the
should
video,
do.
you just can't play the. You just can't play the sound.
Right. So what I'll do is I'll just use my tablet, and I'll watch the tablet and just do my reactions on here. But be tuned for all that. You're adorable. Hope you're having fun,
I'm trying to keep
boss.
That sounds awesome. We'll hash it out.
But yeah,
We'll figure it out.
because I've got a lot that I want to talk about still with the hockey stuff. It's just I have to be able to sit down and just do it. So keep an eye out for that this week. For at least that I plan on doing, and that's why I said it was going to be a surprise. But I'll just tell you, I wanted to do that and discuss. So actually, I would say, just keep an eye. It's either going to be Tuesday or Wednesday night. I can tell you right now. I'm going to do a live Twitch feed of it all, whatever it is. But it's going to be posted on Thursday. If not, on Tuesday I'll start posting it. But you have to. I'm going to say latest night will be Thursday. So yeah, keep an eye out for that. I'm going to be discussing my thoughts on the draft, and their choices and all that fun stuff. With that being said, I hope you guys all stay happy, stay healthy, stay focused, and love one another. Don't assume what someone else is doing because you're not walking in their shoes. But that doesn't mean you guys don't get the shoes at the same store, at the end of the day.
Remember, we all have tastes.
Don't be afraid to live your best life. Deuces.